What's going on, Vigilante World? It's your guy Spec Civilian, and we back with another video. First things first, I want to give a shout out to all my viewers, subscribers, and Patreon supporters for making this a home to catch some content before you make a purchase. In today's video, we're actually going to be giving you another episode of 75 Live. In today's episode, we're actually going to be going over the specs and features of one of the most popular competition pistols on the market. You probably already know what that is. We're actually going to be going over the deeper parts of what I did to make mine a little bit more accurate than just your standard production model. That gun actually is the CZ Custom Accu Shadow 2 RDS. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know for a fact when I originally got this pistol, it was a regular stock Shadow 2. That's one of the best guns that you could probably get as an entry-level gun for a competition. If you're just trying to figure out if you want to get in the competition, see how the whole roll is whenever you are on the competition range, this is a great gun to just go out and just be able to not have to feel like you are inferior to other people who have these super expensive guns, because that can take a toll on the mental capacity in just going out and just trying to do your best. And a lot of people jump into this gun because it makes them comfortable, it's super smooth in terms of functionality, and on top of that, it will help you be a better shooter. But it had a couple shortcomings in and of itself that I wanted to make sure that I took care of in order to make sure that mine can be up to par with all of those super expensive, super accurate guns that you will see as a competitor on the competition range. So let's get into it. All right, Vigilante World, let's get into what we did to make this thing the race ready killer. Now, this is officially my CZ Custom Accu Shadow 2 RDS. Now, RDS is literally just an acronym for Red Dot System, so that I can have a universal optic ready gun when it's time to handle business. Right at the top, you'll be able to see I mounted a Trijicon SRO 2.5 MOA straight to my CZ Custom RDS system. Now, I decided to go ahead and get mine milled from CZ Custom because this RDS system is way more universal than just getting a direct mill from, you know, Cajun Gun Works or Primary Machine or even CZ Custom, because they'll direct mill as well. But this system is so much better than a direct mill because since you have the plates, now the plate is a proprietary plate for the Trijicon footprint, but they have other plates that are proprietary to the Leupold, the Acro Aimpoint. I mean, literally, Holosun is the same as Trijicon, so you don't lose anything in having this type of system besides co-witnessing sights. Now, that can be a pro or con for some shooters. For me specifically, that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, since I didn't have any back sights, in training with it, I realized that you don't really actually have to have that front sight, not at all. The window is super nice size, but not only that, as long as you put that dot stable right in the middle, then you know for a fact wherever that thing is, this thing will hit. And since they still took out a nice chunk of slide mass here, you were able to replace that with the Trijicon SRO. You know for a fact when it comes to reciprocating slide mass, you're not really worried about it being too heavy or too cumbersome in the overall action. It actually aids in the accuracy. And so that's kind of the best part about having that universal red dot system from CZ Custom. Or you can change it out. One thing that I'll say is that I do wish that they did something about this whole little square gap thing in here. Now, don't get me wrong, for me, it doesn't bother me that much, but it's something to kind of just talk about. And so CZ Custom, if you are watching this, if you are out there and you're doing this red dot system, please make it a little more minimal so that it's not so much of a thing in just looking at the gun. Honestly, it kills a little bit of the aesthetics, but this gun is so beautiful as it is that it doesn't really bother me. Outside of that, of course, whenever I sent it off to CZ Custom, what I had them do was go ahead and throw that Accu bushing on there, mixed with that captured guide rod. And so that alone is so beautiful. And of course you see that CZ Custom logo right there. It has that nice Shadow 2 logo matched with my Shadow 2 logo. So again, just aids in consistency when it's talking about aesthetics. And that's the best part about having a Shadow 2 in general, is that they're so beautiful and they shoot very well, and they're super comfortable. So they're kind of hard to knock, to be honest with you. But adding something like this will aid in so much of a tighter group that you will appreciate the couple dollars that you put in it just to have them get that Accu bushing put on. And I was able to do, and of course, you already know, we're out here safe. So I love a crown on my overall barrel. So this is still the traditional 4.9 inch barrel. And so all I did was get mine flush cut and crowned so that it could be super nice, super clean. And on top of that, I went ahead and got a stainless finish right at the top. Of course, you'll be able to see it's not all the way through, but it still looks super clean. So got some durability when it comes to the overall barrel right here. You're not really worried about it chafing up your overall stainless. But the stainless, one thing that I'll say, keeps the action super, super clean. That being said, super, super clean. I'm talking, oh my gosh, like, now this thing is buttered, this thing is lubed, so that aids in all of the slickness as well. But regardless of that, when you're shooting those rounds and this thing starts to slow down because it's getting too dry, this stainless helps the action be so slick in loading your rounds. So that's one thing for me that I went ahead and had them do so that I can make sure that this thing performed at the most superior levels that it could, making sure that it can be accurate and it can last very, very long. We're talking about reliability or durability. CZ Custom, they have a bunch of other offerings that you can do with the slide. I like the traditional finish on that slide. It's just very beautiful. So I didn't want them to recoat it or nothing like that. And that's honestly why I didn't get any slide cuts, because I really appreciate that traditional coating and I don't really want to bother with that. Maybe later down the road, I'll get some slide cuts or something like that. But as for right now, this thing is beautiful just as is. Now, when you originally get this gun, you actually get a polymer guide rod, which, I mean, again, that's not too bad. Changing that out, it's 20 bucks or something like that, and you can get it from a couple people, CZ Custom, Cajun Gunworks, stuff like that. For me, the slide was the only thing that I actually sent to CZ Custom. All other work done to this gun has Cajun Gunworks internals in the frame, and so that's kind of the best part there. I know the firing pin is definitely Cajun Gunworks. I added that reduced power spring on there. On top of that, the recoil spring that I added is Cajun Gunworks. The CZ Custom one that they give you is more of a, has a ball pin tip on it, which honestly is not bad. I understand exactly why they have it like that, but this one is honestly rounded and beveled perfect enough to where you're not really worried about it getting caught up on your slide or honestly messing with anything that has to do with overall performance of this gun. So that's kind of the best part about still being able to have options with the stainless guide rod that you put up in there. For one, it's cheap. For two, you got options. So that's kind of the best part there. This is the traditional Shadow 2 trigger. I know for a fact the old style Cajun Gunworks trigger is pretty much the same. They're both stainless, and so that wasn't really too big of a deal for me. Now, this traditionally did have your old safety that looked exactly like this, which, as you can see, works-ish. One thing that's really good about this is once you get this thing in your hand and you literally put your thumb right on here, it honestly works more like a gas pedal than anything. So you can literally get super high up in the gun. For me, most gas pedals, of course, you know, are about right here on the gun. Again, this being right here just gives your thumb a place to lay while you're getting your grip together. And honestly, it fits perfect for your hand to snap in there, point, aim, fire. And so that's kind of the best part about having this safety here. Not only is it super audible, super easy to function, it works. It's super nice. It works. It's super audible. That's kind of the best part about it. It's still ambi, even if you did need to shoot with your offhand for some reason. Of course, that's gonna feel weird because this safety is so long, as you can see. But again, it aids in some of the overall stabilization of the gun because you're not having to worry about your thumb slipping down for any reason at all to disturb your grip. Some people, they go for over the thumb, which that's totally fine as well. But as you can see, the base of my thumb fits right under the safety, so me putting my thumb right there is just too perfect. So again, it just aids in the overall stabilization on the gun. As is, the Shadow 2 has a very low bore axis, and not only that, you can get really high up in the gun. And so just having a grip like that, having kind of a place to rest your thumb and not have to worry about it is honestly a very, very practical thing for this gun. Traditional mag release on there, not really worried about that, but I did go ahead and throw a Springer Precision Magwell on there. Now, this is a really cool Magwell actually, because regardless of the grips that you have on, you can always put this on. How it essentially works is on the bottom, you'll be able to see you have this screw in here. Once you take the screw out and you pop this off, there's a mainspring housing in here, and you'll be able to see, you see this little silver You see this little silver backplate there. That silver backplate is what you switch out from the plate that you traditionally get that's like black. Once you switch that out, it allows you to be able to have this screw in there to where you can screw this thing on. So the best part about honestly having a Magwell like this is that it's an easily replaceable or easily removable Magwell. So say if you're in a competition or something like that and you're needing to go ahead and make sure that the gun's optic ready and it's not limited ready or something like that, you can pop this thing off. Everything else stays the same. You can still use your base plats, you can still use all of this stuff, and you can have an optic ready to go gun by just taking this off. Then if you wanted to honestly just run some open or on some wild stuff, or if you wanted to make sure that you could pop the optic off and run more of a limited, then at the end of the day, you could easily put this thing right back on the same way. Literally just put in whatever Allen wrench this is, unscrew it, pop it off. Whenever you need it, screw it back on. The thing is, there's so much spring tension in here, and it's a little cap in there that allows it to not pop out to where you don't really have to worry about any of the little things. So it's just one perk to just having a gun like this in a Magwell like this is the fact that it's easily removable, easily practical for any competition. Limited optics division, this thing will be so ready for that. Not only that, I got some Springer Precision base plates. Now these are only +2, +3 base plates, so they add about 20 rounds to your gun. 20 rounds, 21 rounds. Typically it's about 17 rounds. So you get a couple more rounds in there, about 85 rounds in total for a competition. I know me personally, as you've seen, this is the 4th mag. So I have 4 mags that I use for my Shadow 2. You're ready to just let it rip, keep on dropping the mag, placing it, racking it, boom. You're ready to go when you're talking about a gun like this that's giving you 20, 21 rounds and a trigger as sweet as this. Now, whenever you have a trigger like this, you know for a fact that thing is gonna be super sweet. You have enough rounds and it's just so much fun to just play with. Now, in adding the overall Magwell, it allows you to be able to change out your spring. So I actually changed out my main spring or my hammer spring to about 13-pound spring. That way it could be just a little bit smoother, a little bit more crisp on the pull. And that's kind of the best part there. So real quick, we'll do a trigger test so you can actually see what you get from doing these modifications. Single action first. Got 2 pounds, 3 ounces. Yeah. 1 pound, 8 ounces. 2 pounds, 6 ounces. So you got about a 2-pound trigger all in all on the average, and that's kind of the best part there. And as you'll be able to see, average 2 pounds, 0.6 ounces. So about a 2-pound trigger. So we're gonna run it in quarter cock and we're gonna do some double action and see what you get. 5 pounds, 5 ounces. 6 pounds, 4 ounces. 3 pounds, 1 ounce. So you got about I'd say about a 4 or 5 pound trigger. Now when we're talking about this trigger all in all, at the end of the day, again, we're safe. You know for a fact, if you're in this double action, you can just glide through that thing, literally. Look at that, just smooth as can be. Now, if you're in the single action, you know for a fact, this is your take up. Get to like a wallish, but it's more of a rolling break. You don't really find a definitive wall. You just really kind of roll through it. And it's so clean. Reset, super short, nice, right back to it. Reset one more time. So you get a little bit of slack after you reset, but the trigger is so smooth that you don't really have to worry about playing with or finding a wall to shoot from. So that's kind of the best parts about having something like this. Now, all in all, I know for a fact, this was probably one of the best guns that I could modify and actually make something that was super accurate. And so we're gonna get off the mat, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna see what's up. Back to it. So as you've seen, this gun is actually super fire. It's aesthetically pleasing. You know for a fact it shoots. It still gives you that amazing ergonomics, and there's so much more that you could still do if you wanted this thing to go just a little bit faster. And that's kind of the main thing that I was getting at with the race ready killer. Typically whenever you buy a production Shadow, it is pretty much race ready. Honestly, if you send off your gun as like a 2011, like of course you guys know they have companies where you can send your gun off, get it polished just for race ready stuff. And so just to make sure that it can be up to par with, again, a lot of those super expensive guns. One thing that was really cool about this is, again, out of the box, you already get a very up to par gun, but it was a couple things that I just had to fix. I don't know why, even if you get the Optic ready version, it doesn't come with back slide serrations. For me, it was just a killer on the whole gun. So I went ahead and got mine milled for the RDS system so that I could actually have a universal optic system to play with if I wanted to actually go Optic ready or not. And that was kind of the best thing. You didn't traditionally get that. And honestly, if you did get the Optic ready version, the red dot would sit a little bit higher than actually getting it either direct milled or getting some type of optic mount that sits a little bit lower than your traditional Optic ready Shadow 2. That alone offered so much opportunity for just making this gun so much more accurate, because at that point you have a subjective opinion on which dot that you want to use. For me, of course, as you've seen, I chose the Trijicon SRO. It's just a super reliable dot. It has a really nice window for you. It has a super perfect reticle if you're talking about something that you can pick up in daytime, nighttime, or at a certain range. So there's many perks of having a dot like that. It's a subjective thing. You can have any dot that you want if you get a system like this, but that's one thing that I had to fix hands down just to make this gun that much more accurate to train with. And honestly, I knew this was going to be my competition gun, so I wanted to make sure that I had every advantage in a competition if I wanted to do this. Now, like I said, I didn't get any slide cuts or anything like that. The finish that's on the traditional slide is fantastic. I mean, literally just beautiful. And so that was one thing that I didn't want to have to mess up or tarnish. Initially, I wanted to kind of take advantage of that traditional coat because it is a really good coating. You know, I know some people are going to harp on, hey, if you sent it off, then why didn't you just get some slide cuts? Slide cuts does help a faster reciprocating slide mask, but as you've seen, there was a nice chunk of weight taken out of my slide, and I even still have a nice chunk that you could see. So there's still some weight that's taken out of my slide that's allowing my slide to move just as fast, to be honest with you. The fact that it doesn't have a specific set of compensation of some sort is one thing that I can look into, but it really didn't have anything to do with me losing a slide mask competition of some sort. If you're talking about your slide being able to reciprocate a little bit faster so that it can load rounds faster, so you can shoot faster, so you can just do things faster in this race ready mode that you get in when you're in a competition. The barrel length is honestly, again, still the same, still about 5 inches or so. I just got that flush cut and crown just so it can be super nice and super clean and sexy. As you've seen, that is a beautiful barrel bushing that is on that thing. And let me tell you something, just getting that barrel bushing by itself, I seen tighten up my groups. And the best part about sending your gun off to CZ Custom is that it does not take a super long time. Honestly, it took about maybe 6 to 8 weeks or so, so a little bit over a month and a half or so, and I was able to get my gun back, and it was no problem. I mean, honestly, I looked up, it was back, I was able to go back to the range and proceed to train just like I regularly would. So that's kind of the best part about dealing with a custom shop like CZ Custom. They work very fast, and it's really high quality work, so you don't have to worry about losing any of the traditional manufacturing or anything like that. They are literally some of the best people to go to. Honestly, with having that Accu bushing, it is fire. I'm not gonna lie. It definitely makes your groups that much tighter. Even when I first got it, I had to take it, shoot some 7-yard range runs and then shoot some 50-yard range runs, just because, I mean, come on, it's the Accu Shadow 2. Why not? You got to test it and see if it can shoot far. You got to test it and see if you can shoot within a nice self-defense distance. I went ahead and got some trials in on that, and it did not disappoint. I mean, literally within 7 to 10 yards, maybe even 15 yards, it was literally on point. I mean, I could pretty much shoot alphas all day, and no lie. But once you get out to 50, with no optic, that's when it becomes a little bit more challenging. Not to say that you can't hit. You can 100% still hit. Honestly, you can hit A's, C's, and D's all day. If you want to minimize the amount of grouping that you have and stuff like that, that's when that red dot really comes into play. I went ahead and mounted my red dot, and then again, I played around at about 10 yards or so, maybe even 25 yards, just zeroing the dot, making sure that everything's all good, and then I sent it back straight to 50 yards. And like I said, it did not disappoint. I definitely had, I think it was 2 alphas, 2 Charlies, and then 1 flyer. Which I'll take that all day, to be honest with you, at 50 yards. Not too bad. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're in minor over major, then that's going to be that's going to be a power factor thing that you're playing with. But if you're just in regular production or something like that, I'm telling you, I'll take that, because it's a points game. We're talking about getting mad points at 50 yards and not missing. So that's kind of the best part there. Super accurate. If you dial it back and take it to like a self-defense distance or like a 10-yard distance, your grouping gets super tight. I'm talking about a solid, what, 2-3 inches or something like that. I was able to shoot about, I would say, 10-15 rounds or so in the body and in the head. And both groups, you will see, are solidly tight. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a grandmaster, but I would like to think that I'm on the way to be my John Wick, okay? No, but for real though, this thing really does drive them in. And that's kind of the best part about having a very, very accurate gun like this. Literally, wherever you put that dot, it will hit. Like, I took my front sight off because it was becoming too much of a distraction for me when I'm trying to aim for the dot, when I'm trying to look at my sight, but I don't have any rear sight. It's just a confusing thing to jump on. Whenever you just have the dot and there's no sights, you don't have to think about all of the weird stuff that goes into just sight acquisition. Literally, point the gun properly. And for me, I make sure that my thumb is pointing at wherever my target is. That's how I know for a fact I'm gonna be able to find my dot. If my thumb is pointing at wherever my target is, my dot is gonna be in the right spot. And so whenever I'm practicing and doing my draw practice, I make sure that that's a main thing that I consider, so I'm not losing any of my comfort in using a gun, a very accurate gun at that, like this. As you've seen, it was a couple other modifications that you can definitely take advantage of. Polymer guide rod to stainless guide rod. I mean, literally, 20 buck change ain't nothing. You can get it from whoever you want. You don't lose any mag capacity, you only gain mag capacity, so that's the best part. Literally, you get more rounds to get more points to win the competition a little bit faster. Easy. Now the trigger, you have options of doing like a single action only trigger, or if you wanted to do like a flat face trigger, or if you wanted to just make it double action. I know some people like to play that game, but that's kind of the best part about having a Shadow 2 in general, is that you got a double action, single action gun, and you can, you know, swing either way that you like. Whatever way tickles you, that's the best part. You can take advantage of it. You do have that thumb rest that works as kind of like a gas pedal, I would say. That way I have a little bit more stability on the gun. I just know it aids in a lot of sustainability and grip if I'm looking at being fast and making sure my hand's on the right spot. Because I know if my thumb's in the right spot, that means my grip's high enough, so I know I'm clenching the gun right, rather than having a little bit lower grip and then kind of limp wristing it if you're out there shooting just because you're trying to get the speed. You see what I'm saying? Now with the frame, again, all of it was Cajun Gunwork internals. I love Cajun Gunworks when it comes to what they do to make your gun a little bit more smooth in terms of the action and shooting your firearm when it comes to trigger, reset, all that good stuff. With all the CZs I've ever gotten, I've thrown a Cajun Gunworks Pro package in every last one because it just does not fail me. I've shot hundreds of rounds, if not thousands of rounds, through all of my CZs, and I know for a fact that is one package from a aftermarket company that has proven its reliability for me, and I think will as we go on in the future. So don't be afraid to definitely go through them. Either send it off, make sure that they can do it for you, or if you're also confident enough to take that project, do it yourself. But just keep in mind, there is a certain level of gunsmithing that goes into it that can be challenging. And again, I've done it on the traditional P01, SP01 models, Shadow 2 models, and I've done it on like the Omega models. It is a big difference even in dealing with those two. If you want to start with something, I would definitely either do an Omega model or a Shadow 2 model if you're going to talk about modifying it yourself, because it is a little bit easier to just not lose parts. But not only that, make sure that everything can be back in the same place at a very, very easy pace. Not having to worry about stressing yourself because now you have all of these things that are gutted out of your gun. Now with CZ in general, you get some amazing ergonomics that just allows you to go super, super fast. I'm talking about double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap. And that's kind of the best part. When you're talking about a race ready gun, you want to be able to get some double taps off so you can go ahead and get to the next target. And that's kind of the coolest thing, even with having the ergonomics that this allows you to have. First off, you have a stainless steel frame, and you know for a fact that's going to aid in a lot of recoil mitigation because your frame is a little bit heavier up front. But not only that, the ergonomics of any CZ, I'm telling you, when I first picked up a P01, I knew I was going to get it. When I first picked up an SP01, I knew I was going to get it. When I first picked up a Shadow 2, I knew I was going to get it because, again, it is undeniable the comfort and ergonomics that CZ brings into their pistols. And that's why, for me, definitely as a competition pistol, I want something that's going to be super comfortable in the hand. Definitely if I'm going to be wrenching down on it super hard. As you know, these things got that 25 lines per inch checkering, so you know you're going to be gripping down on it and getting really gritty. And so whenever you're gripping on this gun, you're going to feel it. Definitely after a while, you are going to feel it. And so you want it to be as comfortable as possible because the web of your hand's going to feel it. Literally the base of your thumb's going to feel it. You are going to feel being out on the competition range outside of just looking at targets to shoot. It is a physical thing. For me, I definitely had to take advantage of going the CZ route because, again, it aids in comfort, it aids in reliability. The ergonomics are just fantastic. And I know for a fact with the modifications that I've done with this pistol, I can put the dot on the target and hit. And that's what you want out of a race-ready pistol. That's what you want out of a gun that you're gonna go compete with. You wanna make sure that you have the most accurate gun that you could possibly get for the money. And that's why for me, this was amazing. The level of accuracy that you get out of this makes me feel like I'm shooting a 2011 most times. I've shot in a handful of 2011s and 1911s, and honestly, the trigger, don't get me wrong, is smoother than a 2011, but it's not exactly better than a 2011 because it depends on what you're looking for in the trigger. As I was explaining, you don't find a definitive wall. It's kind of like a rolling break. With a 2011, most times you get a definitive wall, even if it's super light, but you know where your wall is so you can shoot from that. With this, it's more like a slap and run. You're slapping the rounds out, you're running around aiming, shooting, slapping the rounds out because it's so smooth. But since it is very smooth, one thing that I like, so I ride mountain bikes, and one thing that they say out on the trail is smooth is fast. Honestly, I use that as a translation even with my guns because the same thing with this trigger. Smooth is fast. As long as it's a very smooth trigger and you are trained with your gun, you know the reset, you will be able to go super fast. Sometimes when you get that definitive wall, you look for that unconsciously too much, and it just deters you from your actual sight acquisition because then you start getting all this wiggle, trying to look for the reset, That's something you can train around. But that's one thing that I don't want to worry about or think about, to be honest with you, because again, we're racing, we're out moving. I want it to be smooth. I want to float through this course. So that's kind of the best part there about having a setup like this and a trigger like this. You know for a fact you're going to be able to flow through this course, be super accurate, and it still be fun for you. You don't have to worry about all of the little things that negate your experience. Now CZ in general has some very reliable guns, and this CZ Accu Shadow 2 is very much so up to par with all of the reliability aspects of CZ. Since it was a regular stock production Shadow 2 and now a CZ custom Accu Shadow 2, I've probably shot, you know, a few thousand rounds, if not a couple thousand rounds through this gun. And I know for a fact it has not given me any failures whatsoever. And that's kind of the best part. I mean, literally not one stovepipe, not one choke up, not one double feed, not one failure to feed, none of that stuff. This gun has proven so much in reliability for competitions, or if you want to use it for duty use. If you want to use it for duty use, this is a fire duty gun. I'm not gonna lie, you will make sure you can take care of business if you are using this on a duty required job. And that's the cool thing. You can do that if you really wanted to. Now, the best part about a Shadow 2, again, is being able to get a gun that offers all the things that this has for the competition world for the money. And so, you know you're jumping into this gun at an MSRP of about $1,250. Nowadays, I've seen these things go down to about $1,000 even. I mean, literally. So the fact that you can find this gun for about $1,000 as a base and then end up modifying it if you want, even with the modifications, just the RDS Optic cut cost about $250, and then the AccuBushing cost about maybe $150 all in all, and that included the crown. And not only that, the finish that's on my actual barrel, like the stainless steel finish that's on the top of the barrel, it actually included all of that stuff. You can put a few $100 more in it and get a gun that's less than $2,000, but performs like a gun that's like $4,000. And that's kind of the best part about it. You don't have to break the bank to have something that's a race-ready killer. If you did like this video, make sure you smash that like button. If you have any other comments, make sure you drop those comments right down below. I would love to hear what y'all think about what you're using in competition and what you would do to a Shadow 2 to make it a little bit more proficient for you. Definitely make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. I got way more content coming for y'all. As I said, we're on a roadmap for the Spec Civilian, and it's gonna be live. So other than that, stay safe, get some ammo. Till next time, y'all.